Hello everyone, and welcome back to another devlog of my game Project Giant Mech. It has been another 2 more months. I have been working mostly on the weapon system of the game, so in this devlog we'll be talking more about them. I know this devlog is a bit shorter than usual. That is because I had to do a lot of backend updates and fixes that can't be seen visually. For those that are new to the channel, Project Giant Mech is a first-person shooter game with a mix of Doom Eternal and EDF5 game. I'm trying to make the game fast-paced as Doom Eternal and give giant mechs and enemies like EDF5. There will be campaigns, character customizations, upgrades, and weapon selection. Also, Project Giant Mech is not the name of the game. I'm still thinking of the name, and there are few names that I'm leaning towards and will announce it once I have the Steam page up. If you guys want to know more about the playstyle of the game, then I suggest you to check out my previous devlogs of the project. The first feature I added was a map edge icon, so after removing the map edge barrier, I noticed that it was difficult to know if the player reached the edge of the map. The minimum map does show the map edge with a red box, but during high intense moments, it becomes difficult to know if close to the map edge. I added a map edge icon that fixes this issue. Now whenever the player comes close to the edge of the map, it will pop up. For the last 2 months, I really had to fix some of the bugs that was popping up in the game. Was getting quite frustrated with that, so decided to make a basic bug model that I could destroy over and over again. This was a good approach and very satisfying. This bug model is very light, so it helps in testing out new weapons really fast. Alright, the first weapon I made was a lock-on weapon. I really needed this for the flying enemies because before this weapon it was quite difficult to destroy the flying enemies. I gave 2 visual feedback to let the player know that the weapon has locked on to an enemy. The first one is that the lock-on icon will start to rotate once locked on to an enemy. This will be common to all lock-on weapon types. The second visual feedback is in the weapon model itself. So once locked on, the locked on icons in the weapon will light up. I also gave the option to fire the weapon without the need to lock on to any enemies. Also, if the locked on enemy dies before the bullet reaches it, it will just keep on traveling forward. There were some issues while testing the lock-on system. In the beginning, the bullet would lock on to the player and just circle back to the player when fired. The problem was, instead of sending the target position, I was sending the player position to be targeted, which unfortunately took time to figure out. The next weapon I made was the plasma cannon. This is the first weapon where I started to experiment with the moving parts for the weapon. I would say that the moving parts look really good and gives that power feel to the weapon. Also, I gave 3D visual feedback when the weapon is able to fire. The glowing bar filling up shows how long till the weapon is able to fire again, and when the side indicator lights turn green, means the weapon is able to fire. Also, had to work on the particle effect of the bullet. I wanted there to be a trail that would gradually disappear instead of instantly disappearing when the bullet hits an object. So I made a script that follows the bullet, and once the bullet hits an object, a counter will start to count down to hide the particle effect. Alright, the next weapon I worked with is the laser rifle weapon. Like the name suggests, it fires laser. To me, the laser fired looks really good, especially with the trail it generates. It has a 3D visual feedback that shows the current amount of laser energy left, which is also shown in the UI, but I wanted to see how it would look, and I kinda like it. For the trail, I used Unity's particle system with rate over distance and world simulation. I made a script that would move the trail particle to the hit point of the laser, and when the laser moves around, it makes the particle system to move and generate particles. I did use a trail renderer to accomplish this, but that didn't look right, and I did spend a lot of time trying to fix some of the issues, especially with hard edges it generates. Also, I tried with the visual effects graph, but could not generate the particles fast enough, and there were big gaps between the particles. But using the particle system here fixed all of these issues. This next weapon, I would say, at the moment is one of my favorite weapon and the most complicated one. It is the Plasma Cannon 2. I know, the naming of the weapon needs to be better, but for now I'm trying to make them quickly and later name them properly. Unlike other weapons, this weapon needs to charge up before firing. Also, while the weapon is charging up, the player won't be able to switch to other weapons. The weapon will fire once activated. There is no stopping it. It was really fun making this weapon. Basically, it has 2 tubes filled with chemicals at the side, which needs to be mixed in the center tube before firing. Once the mixing process is done, the weapon will need to discharge the chemical reaction. The plasma that it shoots out penetrates everything in its path and will destroy them completely. This weapon has a lot of 3D visuals. First one is when the weapon is fired, a charging up visual effect is generated at the mouth of the weapon, and the 2 side tubes starts to get lowered while the center tube starts to get filled up. If you haven't noticed, the bloom effect also starts to increase slowly. The tube filling up gives the charging up feedback so the player will know when the weapon is about to fire. Also, once the weapon fires, the entire environment lights up, which adds to the power effect of the weapon. While this weapon is good, it did introduce some bugs, which is if too many buildings are destroyed at the same time, then some of the buildings will not explode and never get destroyed. I think I know what the issue is, but we'll try to fix the issue once I'm done with making some other type weapons. You guys must have noticed by now that I have added weapon shake to the game. You guys mentioned in previous devlog how weapon shake while firing would look good. Finally, I got the chance to work on it, and I must say it really does add the power feeling of the weapon. Really am happy how the weapon shake looks for each weapon. This is how the hierarchy of my weapon script looks like. Had to make a diagram like this because I needed to know which script would get affected if I change some logic in any base classes. Basically, I'm trying to keep the player and the enemy weapons separated because the enemy weapons needs to remain as much optimized as possible while I can give the player weapon some effects like the visual effects. But in both the cases, they should have the firing logic similar and they both can use any of the weapon scripts shown here. While working on the game for the last 2 months, I did find out one useful tip about Unity, which is you can control the speed of the fly cam in the editor window. When you are in fly mode in editor, that is holding the right mouse button, then you can use the mouse scroll to make the speed faster or slower. This is really useful when trying to see where to put some small objects when I really need to move slowly. That is it for this devlog. Next I will be finishing 2 or more weapon types, and after that I will work on equipment calling system, which I will keep basic like calling in a bunker for now, because after that I really need to work with the hub world, which I tried to do within the last 2 months but had to fix some bugs that took time. If there is anything you guys want to know, just let me know. I'm very grateful that you guys came so far into the video. Also, please like and subscribe. That will help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Tell me what you guys think about the progress of the game thus far in the comment section below. See you all in the next devlog. Take care and stay safe. K out!